Titu Singh was born on December 26, 1981, in a small Indian village called Basbaria. No one suspected then that this little boy would soon become one of the most documented cases in reincarnation research, and that his claims would occupy the world's scientists for decades. When Titu was only 2 years old, he began saying strange things. The little boy constantly talked about how he was actually Suresh Verma, and that he had another family as well. He claimed that in his previous life he had worked as a police officer, and that he had been brutally murdered. These claims initially didn't attract particular attention in his family, since small children often say strange things. But Titu's stories became increasingly detailed and consistent. He spoke about things that a 2-year-old child couldn't possibly know. He knew the details of police work, understood how weapons functioned, and could precisely describe the place where he allegedly lived in his previous life. The little boy constantly cried and asked to be taken to his old house. He described that this house was in another city, which he placed in Farda near Agra. He could describe the route in such detail that his family members began to believe that Titu truly remembered something. Titu claimed that in his previous life, Suresh Verma was a police officer who had a wife and 2 children. He spoke about what their house was like, where it stood, and what kind of furniture was in it. He even knew where they kept their money and what kind of jewelry the wife had. The most shocking thing, however, was how Titu described his death. He said that in 1980 he was shot while on duty. He described the attack in detail, where the bullets hit him and how he died. These descriptions were so realistic that his family members were shaken by them. Titu's behavior also changed when he spoke about these things. The little boy, who was otherwise cheerful and playful, became serious and sad when he talked about his previous life. He used adult expressions that a 2-year-old child couldn't have known. The family finally decided to investigate Titu's claims. They began searching to see if there really was a police officer named Suresh Verma who died as Titu described. As a result of their search, they discovered that in 1980, a police officer named Suresh Verma was indeed murdered in Farda. This discovery shook the family. They decided to contact Suresh Verma's family to find out how accurate Titu's memories were. The first meeting exceeded all their expectations. When Titu first met Suresh Verma's widow, Uma, he immediately recognized her. "You are Uma, my wife," he told her, which deeply moved the woman. Titu knew such details about Uma's life and their marriage that only Suresh could have known. The little boy also recognized Suresh's children and knew their names without ever having heard them. He even knew where the family jewelry was kept and what special objects were in the house. These details convinced Uma that Titu was truly Suresh's reincarnation. Titu not only recognized the family members, but also the house and the neighborhood. Without ever having been to Farda, he knew which way to go, where the shops were, and where the police station was. The locals were also surprised when they saw how well a little child knew the city. One of the most convincing moments came when Titu spoke about the details of the murder. He said things that were only contained in police reports and that the public never knew. He knew who the attackers were, what weapons they used, and exactly where the murder took place. Dr. Stevenson, a researcher at the University of Virginia, who spent decades investigating reincarnation cases, considered Titu Singh's case one of the most convincing. This little boy knows such details about a stranger's life that would be impossible to learn under normal circumstances, he said about him. The researchers thoroughly examined Titu's family background to rule out the possibility that they could have obtained the information from somewhere else. It turned out that Titu's family had never been to Farda and had no connection whatsoever to Suresh Verma's family. Titu's memories extended not only to the tragic events, but also to Suresh's everyday life. He knew what foods he liked, what his habits were, and how he behaved with his family. He even knew those little habits that only the closest family members could have known. The little boy also knew what clothes Suresh wore, what kind of watch he had, and where he kept his personal belongings. When Uma showed him Suresh's old photographs, Titu immediately recognized them and told stories about them that had really happened. If you've been interested in this fascinating story so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more reincarnation cases and spiritual content. Now let's continue with Titu Singh's incredible story. Over the years, Titu's memories gradually began to fade, which often happens in reincarnation cases. Experts believe this happens because the new personality gradually takes control and the old memories recede into the background. This is what happened in Titu's case as well. When Titu turned 5, he no longer spoke as often about his previous life, but still remembered the main details. He continued to recognize Suresh's family members and knew the most important events, but the details began to blur. According to researchers, this gradual forgetting is a normal phenomenon in reincarnation cases. Dr. Jim Tucker, who continued Ian Stevenson's work, says about this. Children usually remember their previous life until they are 7 or 8 years old. Then these memories gradually disappear. Titu's case was also special in how strong his emotional connection remained with Suresh's family. Even years later, he remained attached to them and behaved as if he were the head of the family. This often caused difficulties, since Titu had his own family as well. Uma, Suresh's widow, was deeply moved by Titu's memories. He knows things about Suresh that no one else could know, she said about him. When he talks about him, it's as if Suresh himself is speaking. A close relationship developed between the two families through Titu. They regularly visited each other, and Titu considered both families his own. This situation was not only interesting for the researchers, but also emotionally very burdensome for both families. Titu's behavior also reflected his memories of his previous life. He showed adult mannerisms that were not characteristic of his age. This became particularly evident when it came to police officers or weapons. He showed knowledge in these areas that a small child couldn't have acquired. The local police also became interested in Titu's case. They hoped that the little boy's memories could help solve Suresh Verma's murder case. Titu indeed provided information that was useful during the investigation. Dr. Stevenson conducted a detailed examination of Titu's case, during which he tried to verify every claim. The research results showed that the vast majority of Titu's claims were accurate. The little boy knew such details about Suresh's life that would have been impossible to learn under normal circumstances. One of the most shocking discoveries was that Titu also knew a hidden secret from Suresh's life. He said that Suresh had hidden money in a certain place that no one else knew about. When they checked this claim, they indeed found the money in the place where Titu said it would be. Skeptics naturally questioned Titu's claims. They said that somehow the family had obtained the information and unconsciously passed it on to the child. But the researchers' thorough investigation ruled out this possibility. Dr. Satwant Pasricha, an Indian psychologist who also studied Titu's case, said, "This case exceeds all known scientific explanations. The child's knowledge is so deep and detailed that it's difficult to explain through normal means." Titu's case not only supports the existence of reincarnation, but also shows how consciousness can preserve memories from one life to another. The child not only knew information about Suresh's life, but also inherited his emotions and certain traits of his personality. The researchers observed that Titu had phobias that were connected to Suresh's death. He was fearful when he saw weapons and panicked when he heard sudden noises. These reactions indicated traumas that he might have experienced in a previous life. This phenomenon is common in reincarnation cases when the child died a violent death in the previous life. The trauma becomes so deeply ingrained in consciousness that it appears in the new life in the form of phobias and anxieties. In Titu's case, another special phenomenon was also observable. The little boy showed physical marks on his body that corresponded to Suresh's injuries. Dr. Stevenson paid great attention to these birthmarks and believed that they were physical manifestations of the previous life's trauma. The scientific community was divided regarding Titu's case. Some believed this was evidence for the existence of reincarnation, while others received the results skeptically. Philosopher Dr. Paul Edwards, for example, claimed that these cases don't prove the existence of reincarnation, only that there are phenomena we don't yet understand. Cultural background also played an important role in Titu's case. In India, reincarnation is an accepted part of the belief system, so the family and environment openly received the little boy's claims. This made it possible to thoroughly examine the memories without prejudices influencing them. Dr. Tucker, who continued Stevenson's work, examined more than 2,000 similar cases. According to him, Titu's case is one of the most convincing because it contains so many verifiable details. When a 2-year-old child can precisely describe a stranger's life whom he has never met, that challenges the materialist worldview, he says. Titu's story also shows what effect reincarnation memories have on the family. It was difficult for both families to cope with a small child's claim that he was the reincarnation of their deceased family member. This created an emotionally burdensome and complicated situation. Uma, Suresh's widow, initially found it difficult to accept the situation. "How can I believe that this little boy is my husband?" she asked herself. But Titu knew such details that only Suresh could have known, and this gradually convinced her. The relationship between the two families continued for years. Titu regularly visited Suresh's family and behaved as if he were the head of the family. This was particularly interesting when he met Suresh's children, who were older than him, yet he behaved as a father toward them. This behavior gradually changed as Titu got older. Along with the fading of memories, the adult behavior also disappeared, and Titu increasingly became like an average child. This change confirmed the researchers' theory that reincarnation memories fade over time. Dr. Stevenson spent more than 40 years investigating reincarnation cases. According to him, Titu's case is special because it meets all important criteria. The child spontaneously told memories. These memories were connected to a real person, and a large percentage of the details were verifiable. The researchers also observed that Titu's memories extended not only to Suresh's life, but also to the period after his death. The little boy said he saw how the family mourned his death and what the funeral was like. These claims also proved to be accurate. One of the most important questions in reincarnation research is why some children remember their previous life while others don't. According to Dr. Tucker, those children remember who died violent or sudden deaths in their previous life because the trauma is so strong that it can be carried over into the new life. Titu's case supports this theory since Suresh died a violent death. The trauma of the murder left such a deep mark on consciousness that it remained even after being born into a new body. This might explain why Titu remembered the circumstances of death so vividly. Modern neurology opens new perspectives for examining reincarnation cases. Brain function research shows that consciousness is much more complex than we previously thought. This could offer new explanations for how memories might be preserved from one body to another. According to Dr. Bruce Grayson, professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, Titu's case and similar cases force us to reconsider what we know about the nature of consciousness. If these memories truly come from a previous life, that would revolutionize medicine. Titu's story raises not only the possibility of reincarnation, but also that human relationships can survive death. The little boy's love for Suresh's family was so strong that it remained even years after the alleged reincarnation. The local community also accepted Titu's special status. Many believed that he was truly Suresh Verma's reincarnation and treated him with respect. This cultural acceptance made it possible for the case to be thoroughly documented. Over the years, Titu gradually returned to a normal childhood. The memories faded, and he spoke less and less about his previous life. By age 15, he rarely mentioned Suresh and behaved like any other teenager. This change is a natural phenomenon in reincarnation cases. According to researchers, the new personality gradually takes control, and the old memories recede into the background. This doesn't mean that the memories disappear completely, only that they become less accessible. Dr. Pasricha explains this phenomenon as follows. Initially, both personalities are present in the children's brains, but as they develop, the new personality becomes stronger. This is a natural process that allows the child to live a normal life. In adulthood, Titu rarely spoke about his experiences related to reincarnation memories. He lived a life like anyone else, but occasionally still remembered some details from Suresh's life. These memories were no longer as vivid as in childhood, but they didn't disappear completely. The researchers followed Titu's development into adulthood to understand how reincarnation memories affect a person's life in the long term. It turned out that although the memories faded, certain traits remained in Titu's personality that were reminiscent of Suresh. Titu's case contributed to the development of reincarnation research. The detailed documentation and strict verification set an example for how such cases should be investigated. This helped make reincarnation research more scientifically acceptable. Dr. Stevenson's work, which included Titu's case, laid the foundation for modern reincarnation research. The methods he developed are still used today when investigating similar cases. This scientific approach helped make the question of reincarnation a subject of serious scientific investigation. If you enjoyed Titu Singh's fascinating story, then subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Share this video with those who are interested in the topic of reincarnation. Write in the comments what you think about this case. Do you believe that Titu was truly Suresh Verma's reincarnation? Or do you think there's another explanation? Titu Singh's case not only raises the possibility of reincarnation, but also shows how much we still don't know about the nature of human consciousness. Children like Titu open new perspectives for us about what constitutes the essence of human existence. Modern science is becoming increasingly open to investigating phenomena that were previously considered unscientific. Quantum physics and brain function research offer new explanations for how consciousness might work and how information might be preserved after death. According to Dr. Stuart Hameroff, anesthesia professor at the University of Arizona, consciousness is not limited to the brain. At the quantum level, processes occur that might make it possible to preserve information after the physical body's death. This new scientific approach gives hope that in the future, we might understand cases like Titu Singh's story. The dialogue between reincarnation research and modern neurology could open new paths for understanding the nature of consciousness. Titu's case also shows how deep human relationships can be. The love and bond that Suresh felt for his family allegedly survived death and appeared in a new form in Titu's person. This gives hope to those who have lost loved ones. The study of reincarnation cases is not only a scientific question, but also deeply emotional. Those people who participate in these cases often have to change their views about life and death. Uma, Suresh's widow, said years later, "Titu's appearance changed my life. I realized that love is stronger than death, and that those we lose can return to us in some form." This emotional dimension is as important as the scientific aspect. Reincarnation cases not only present intellectual challenges, but can also provide comfort to those who are grieving. Titu Singh's story ultimately shows that human existence is much more complex and mysterious than the materialist worldview suggests. Regardless of whether we believe in reincarnation or not, cases like Titu's encourage us to approach questions of consciousness and death with an open mind. To quote Dr. Tucker's closing words, Titu's case and similar cases remind us that we still have much to learn about human consciousness. These children might be windows into a reality that we don't yet fully understand. Reincarnation research continues, and Titu Singh's case remains one of the most convincing examples that consciousness can survive the body's death. This story not only reveals secrets of the past, but also points the way toward future possibilities.